good morning, and happy Tuesday. Today it is time for my May wrap up and my June hopefuls. There's a lot of books to talk about, so let's get right into this. The first book I read was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This is a reread, and this is a book I had been reading slowly over a few months, but I finished it in May, so that's why it's on this list. This is a 5-star read all day, every day. My favorite thing about rereading this series is there's so many things in it that I didn't catch the first reread around, and I was a little bit younger. I was late high school when I first read this series, so I don't know if it's just maturity or focusing on different things, but I've seen the movies countless times. I've read the book series one time through, and I'm on the reread, and there's just so much I'm picking up this go around that I didn't last time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like J.K. Rowling is a genius for like half of the things she writes. I read Six of Crows. I also gave this 5 stars. This book has been on my TBR for literally years, like 4 or 5 years. It's been on my radar, and I'm like, I want to read it. I need to read it. And finally, my in-person book club picked that for May, and I had to read it, and I'm so glad I did. It was right up my alley. That We Get Reluctant Friends Lovers and Enemies Lovers is literally my bread and butter, and I don't know why it took me this long to read it. And also, something about a heist will always have me sad. So I'm so glad I finally read this. I can't wait to continue the series, and I loved it. Next, I've already talked about these next couple books because they were part of my readathon, so I won't go into crazy detail. You can watch my readathon video. I'll tag it right there. But The Strawberry Patch Pancake House was the next book I read. I gave it 3.5 stars. I ultimately really enjoyed this. I had very low hopes. I was kind of like, this is my last chance for this author. If I don't like it, I'm done. And I was very pleasantly surprised. This is absolutely my favorite book from her. I really enjoyed this one. Next, I read The Bright Years. I went into this not really knowing too much about what the book was about. It was a new release in April, and I just hadn't seen it talked about too much on social media, but I really liked the look of the cover, and the synopsis was basically like, family through generations. They lived in Texas. I live in Texas, so I was like, ooh, okay, like kind of love. And this was a 5-star read, probably my favorite book of the month. I absolutely love this, and I already want to reread it because I read this for the readathon, which means I was kind of like speed reading, and I really feel like this is a book you could annotate and dissect, and I want to do that. Next, I read The Summer I Turned Pretty, 3 stars. I enjoyed this book. I did watch the TV show first, so I had like some expectations on what I thought the story was, and if you know, it is vastly different. And I just personally enjoyed the show more because that's what I watched first. If I read the book first, I maybe would have enjoyed that more. I'm not too sure, but it was good, and I probably will continue the series because they're very fast-paced reads, and they're perfect books to read by like some kind of water, beach, pool, whatever. It is just the epitome of like summer, and I love that. I'll enjoy that book, and I will be continuing the series. Next, I read Fearless by Lauren Roberts, and I gave this book 2 stars, and as a series overall, it's probably like a 3.5, a 2.5 series. I do see the appeal for a lot of people, and I do think this is a great beginner romantasy young adult. There's little to no spice that I can remember. Minor language, like some language here and there, but nothing too crazy. I just can't get over the author's writing style of tropes, and if you know what I'm talking about, you probably like know, but the way she just overutilizes popular tropes really just got under my skin, and that is my biggest grievance with this series, is just the overuse of the tropes. Like in the first one, it was the knife to the throat. This one, it was like she gets saved by whatever, she's hurt, and it was just too much for my opinion. I do see the appeal. I also will say I am a Red Queen girly through and through, and this series vastly moves away from the Red Queen plot, but the first book of this series and Red Queen are like that, and I'm like, ooh, like that. I don't want to get into semantics, but it was just a problem for me. And the last book I read in May was A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars, and the reasoning is the pacing was very unappealing in this book is the best way I can think of it. The first book I absolutely loved. This is a duology, by the way. It is an adult romantasy. First book I absolutely loved. I think it was like a 4.5 or 5 star, probably 4.5 rate if I can remember. I read that when that first came out. This is like a little bit over a year later. So there was a little misfire, if you will, on, I couldn't remember some of the things that had happened. I had to read the last like 3 chapters of the other book to kind of get my brain like, oh, okay, this is what happened. There also is a lot of Norse mythology in this, and I do feel like if you don't have a little bit of understanding of Norse mythology, you will be confused, because that was me. I was like, what is happening? I don't know a lot of Norse mythology. Maybe that's my bad for going into this not knowing, but I also feel like if you're writing a book about something like that, you need to explain it for a way that all readers could pick it up, and that was not the case for this. Beginning, extremely slow, extremely confusing, had no idea what was going on. The middle really picked up, all the elements were kind of coming together, and the end was really slow again. The pacing was just hard to follow, and that again is just my biggest reason for not giving this book higher stars. I also will say, and maybe it was just my memory, this book has very bad language. Like, it is very bad if that's something that bothers you. And I will say, between the 2 books, there's probably only like 3 or 4 like smut scenes, but like they're smut scenes. They are very skippable, and there is a very well established plot outside of them, but just, you know, take that with a grain of salt, do your own research, follow your own convictions. This book could be a little too much for some people. I found it very skippable. But the language is pretty foul, I'm not gonna lie, so if that bothers you, this might not be the duology for you. Those were the books I read in May. Like I said, my favorite was definitely The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff, but overall it was an amazing reading month. I really needed May to like pick up so that I could get closer to hitting my reading goal, because as of right now, I am not close to hitting it, but I refuse to read short books that I don't care about just to hit the goal, so if I don't hit it, I'm okay with it. Which, if you know anything about me, Lexi last year would have like croaked at that sentence. Anyway, now let me talk about the books I want to read in June. First book I'm currently reading is The Fractured Dark by Megan O'Keefe. This is the second book in the Blighted Stars, I don't know what the actual, like, the Devoured Worlds series. This is an adult sci-fi. So far, it's clean, not a ton of language. It's just like why I would call it an adult series is because it is very complex sci-fi. Maybe not very complex, but I don't read a lot of sci-fi, so it feels a little complex. But there's a lot of thinking. This is definitely a book where like you have to use your brain to read. And I literally just started it last night, so like I'm barely in it. But I'm borrowing it from my sister-in-law, and I'm so excited to read this. She said this one is so good, and it picks up right where the other one leaves off, and there's no like middle book slump, so I'm so excited about this. My in-person book club literally meets when this upcoming weekend, and I haven't started our book, and that's Wild Dark Shore. I don't know too much about this book. I know it's kind of like a thriller mystery, and it feels very like spring summery. I love the cover, so I definitely will be reading this as soon as I'm done The Fractured Dark, / depending on how long The Fractured Dark takes me, in the middle, because I need to finish this before Saturday or Sunday. I forget exactly when we're meeting, but I'm excited about this. I have been seeing it circulate TikTok a little bit more, so I am really excited about this. I feel like I need a little romance, and I don't know if this is the right move, so let me know in the comments if you think this is not a good summer romance. But The Things We Left Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros, I've heard amazing books about her romance / literary fiction books, and I just want to experience it. Like, I don't know, I've heard it's absolutely devastating, but like, could that kind of be fun? I don't know. I don't know too much about this other than I'll cry, and I'm kind of here for that. So I'm throwing this on the list, but it's probably not like a super high priority book. I've heard all the controversy with this book. Silver Elite, I got it for book of the month, and I feel like I might try to read it. I need a fantasy on this list, like, for sure. So I'm throwing this on there. I don't know how I feel. I've heard extremely mixed things about it, but I, again, want to make my own opinion about it, so I'm throwing it on June's list. The last book I'm going to put on June specifically is, I literally don't even know the name of the book. The second book in the Six of Crows duology. I think it's on Kindle Unlimited, and I really, really want to read it, so I am going to throw that on here as well. And then whatever my in-person book club picks, of course, that will be a book I read in June as well. If you watched this far, thank you so much. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and I hope you guys all have a blessed Tuesday. Bye!